story. This story is about the wisest man in all of Chelm, Shlomo the scientist. Yes, Shlomo, it was as if when God created him, that God poured all the wisdom of Chelm into Shlomo's head. But he must have neglected other aspects because Shlomo was not a very attractive man. One Chelmite once said to Shlomo, "Shlomo, how is it that a brain like yours is in such a weak little body?" And Shlomo looked at him and replied, "I was born a beautiful boy. But the midwife, she made a mistake. She switched me with an ugly baby. I am not myself. I am the beautiful boy. He is the ugly one." Yes, Shlomo was a truly wise Chelmite. And one story that exemplifies his wisdom was when Chelm needed a new cemetery. Because you see, Chelm was originally a very small village, but it grew. And there came a time when the graveyard was full. And the Chelmites knew that something must be done about this because with a full graveyard, well, no one can die. And this is both rude and very inconvenient. So all of Chelm was called to come to a council, to come together, to discuss what must be done. And it was, of course, decided that a new graveyard must be built. But where should it be? Well, the younger generation said that the new graveyard should be built on top of a nearby hill. Because from this hill, the dead would be able to hear the birds tweet in the morning, be able to look upon all of Chelm, and there would be a nice river going by on one side. It would be a beautiful place to be dead. But the older generation said no, that this wouldn't work out. Because the hill was so far away from the old cemetery, and once you were done walking through the old cemetery and visiting your relatives there, you would have to walk all the way to the hill and trek up all the way to the hill to visit your other relatives. No, this would not work. They said that the new cemetery must be right next to the old cemetery. And as the older generation, and thus closer to use the cemetery, their opinion won out. So it was decided that the new graveyard would be built right next to the old one. But how big should it be? Well, they couldn't go by the measurements of the old cemetery because Chelm was bigger now. They didn't know what to do. But Shlomo the scientist had an idea. And Shlomo said, "We will all go to the field, and we will all lie down next to each other. One man, one woman, one child to each plot. And I will measure it out, and then we will know exactly how big to make the new graveyard." Well, this was an ingenious idea. This was great. So the Chelmites cheered, but Shlomo calmed them down and said, "But when we get older, we get bigger. To account for this, we will all wear our winter attire." So that's just what the Chelmites did. They went to the field wearing all their winter clothing, all of their jackets and scarves and furs and hats. Everyone was dressed as if it was winter. And each person lay down next to one another. And Shlomo the scientist then went out and measured the entire thing. And when it was done, the Chelmites cheered. Because now they could build the new cemetery. Now people could be buried in a cemetery. This was great, and they celebrated. Everyone except for Shlomo the scientist. And this confused the Chelmites because, after all, it was Shlomo's great idea. So the Chelmites came to him and asked him what was wrong, and Shlomo replied, "You see, because I was the one to measure it, I do not have a grave myself." Well, this did not sit well with the Chelmites. The Chelmites were very kind folk, and it was decided that in honor of Shlomo's willingness to give up his own spot in the new cemetery, and for his great idea, it was decided that Shlomo would be the first one buried in the new cemetery. I still don't know how that worked out.